What's up, everybody? It's Nick. And as you can see, I am not in the NYC studio. I'm in my home studio. And that's because the entire world is on quarantine right now. I just want to say that I am praying for all of your health, your safety, and your sanity during these tough times. I think it's super important to stay positive during these times, whether that's working on music daily, being creative, staying inspired. That will allow us to get through these times of uncertainty and stress. And on a larger level, by creating music and collaborating online, that will allow us to really practice great social distancing, which is of the utmost importance right now. So that's why we're going to continue releasing production videos, tips, and tutorials. So hopefully you can stay inspired and stay positive during these times of uncertainty. So now let's get into the video for today. The topic is 4 techniques for your 808 patterns. All right, so the first technique I have for working with 808 patterns is to pitch up your 808 when trying to match it to chord progressions or harmonic movement. What I mean by this is the 808s are essentially acting as the bass and anchoring one note of the chord. And if you're actually off of the key, the 808 can really lose energy quickly. However, humans can't perceive pitch as accurately at lower frequencies. So it's a great technique to octave up your 808s or even play it in a higher octave on your keyboard to find the pattern and then move it down to a lower register when you want to lock in the pattern. So here I have a little idea started in FL Studio. It's based around this balafon loop from the Senegal sessions pack we have on Splice. Let's take a listen. And I have an 808 armed. And if I just do C, D, E, F on the keyboard, it doesn't sound terrible, or at least right away you can't tell maybe. But if I move that up, that same line, C, D, E, F, to a higher octave, so a few of those notes sound, the D and the E sound off. So if I try playing D flat and E flat, now that's not even my pattern, but I can tell that the scale that maybe I didn't even thought it was in C major, it's actually in F minor. And that'll help me accurately get the line. So now I think the line could be something like this. So I'm going to record that and then shift it down. So I'm going to hit record. Let's make sure we're starting one measure before. I have the count-in enabled up here and just hit play. So I'm going to use C for the blade tool and chop it right there. Then select it and make this pattern unique. Fix my timing, use Alt Q to quantize it. Cool, so now if I use Command or Control arrow key down, that'll do a whole octave displacement in FL. We could even go. Yeah, that low F is a little too low, but essentially we shifted the octave up 2 octaves to find the pattern so that our ears could perceive more accurate pitches, and then put the pattern down 2 octaves lower when we want to finalize it and it sounds like in its right place. Not the song by Radiohead. Cool, so the second technique I think is important for 808s is making your kick and 808 groove together or communicate well, talk back and forth. So here's another work in progress I have. And the important thing here is that the kick and the 808, they line up sometimes. Sometimes the 808 anticipates the kick, and sometimes the kick is on its own. So it's a balance, I think, a nice balance of those that really make tasteful patterns. So in Ableton, you can hold shift and then double click on the clips you want. Then you'll see at the very top, it's a very slim hitbox, but you can change between the clips right here. And this is useful so we can see both patterns at once. Right now, the kick's a little lower. The kick is on the bottom, the 808's here, and we can kind of see the rhythm and how it talks to each other. Let's look at it while I play through it once. So let's dissect this really quickly. So the very first two notes are actually in unison. They're kind of giving the same energy. They're bringing the energy together. Then the 808 actually anticipates the next kick by doing a D, then a G. And then on the second beat here is when the kick and the 808 hit together. Then we again have, I like doing these 808 anticipations where it's a G and then a high G. So these octave jumps right here. We've got two unison 808 and kick hits, but then just two beats where it's just the kick, the attack kick. And that's kind of nice because that gives the low end space to breathe. The 808 can be very dominant, so you have to make space when you can. And then I like this, my favorite part is this turnaround here where we go this octave C to C, G, and D. So it's a big jump right away and kind of comes back up. And that leads into like the second part of the phrase. So let's listen to that. And in this middle part, the first kick lines up with the 808. There's an 808 by itself at the top here. Then there's an 808 that comes with the second kick. And that's a really nice feeling. So again, that second technique is trying to make your 808s communicate with your kicks well. Definitely you need to be side chaining. That's a separate maybe tutorial, but I'm sure many of you are already doing that. If you're unfamiliar with sidechain compression, you can look that up. But what it ultimately boils down, I think, to is like maybe like 50 to 80% of the time, your kick and your 808 are together. The other remaining times, they're kind of communicating against each other or talking to each other rather than singing together. So the third technique I want to highlight is to use slides, portamento, and pitch bends to give flourishes and like embellishments to your 808s. Here's another track I have. So as you can see, the pattern moves around a lot. However, there's parts I wanted to highlight which are really specific to this maybe third and fourth measure. And you can hear how the D sharp glides up to the high D sharp. Let's take a listen to that. Solo it. To accomplish this, it's pretty simple in most DAWs. In Ableton, all you have to go is in the sampler or simpler instrument, go to your controls area or the pitch tab in sampler. And what you can do is navigate to the setting glide. And that is either on portamento or glide. Portamento means it's going to support polyphonic voicing, meaning you can have two notes going at the same time. Generally, that's not going to be as good for 808s. Glide's better because it's monophonic, meaning if I have, I'm going to put it on glide, this note here. So that means if I have this pitch here, an octave higher, it's going to glide up to it rather than having two voices at the same time, which you know with 808s, that's going to get muddy very fast and have a lot of phase issues. The glide time is very important. That's how fast it takes to get to that pitch. And the longer the time, the slower it moves to that pitch. So you hear how slow it comes down that jump versus maybe at 54. So let's hear at a 100 milliseconds how far it takes to. I think 100 milliseconds is tight, but let's get maybe dramatic and go to 1 second. Yeah, it doesn't even have enough time to get to that top pitch. So you're really going to need to finesse the glide time to make it sound rhythmically tight in your beat. I like the glide method because you can do kind of dramatic octave jumps and even 3 octave jumps. With pitch bend, we can automate it and it's almost doing the same thing. However, most pitch bend ranges I've seen are limited generally to 24 semitones, which is 2 octaves. You might not get as dramatic sound design results. So some good techniques are to pitch bend the notes up or down, maybe an octave, and that'll give a cool flourish to the 808. All right, so the fourth technique I wanted to show you, maybe a little obvious, but nonetheless important to reiterate, is to use distortion, especially if you want it to cut in the mids and low mids. Distortion can really add a lot of character and color to your 808s. So here's a pattern I have, just based off of a loop I found on Splice. You can hear that slide we just talked about in the third technique. Remember, the slides are glides. To do that in FL Studio really quick, if I wanted to glide up to or slide up to this, all you have to do is double click and then make it a slide. And that will actually go to the top of the note. So you can hear that slide. There are so many great distortion plugins available to add color to your 808s. One of my favorite is Decapitator by Sound Toys. Let's take a listen to some of the presets. It depends on what genre, but I always think that making sure there's a high cut and that your tone is on the darker or warmer side so you don't make your 808 too nasally is important. I think this would be a good preset here. Some of my other favorite plugins are Devastor 2, as well as Trash 2 by Isotope. I really love Trash 2, especially on a wide variety of sounds. Here's some presets. Even though I'm using some third-party plugins, you can accomplish this with your DAWs distortion plugins. I would say virtually every DAW has a distortion effect of some sort. So try going into your DAW to find the distortion effect and add it to your 808 to see how it can add some color and life to your 808. Cool, so those were 4 techniques you can use on your 808 patterns. If you liked the video, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'll be releasing production videos, tutorials weekly. As always, I hope you all enjoy your rest of the day. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay positive. I'll see y'all next time. Later.